So good afternoon, everyone. I see that people from the waiting room are slowly being accepted into the webinar. So we're gonna start slowly the time that everybody join. So first of all, thank you very much for attending this Smith's first webinar this afternoon. We know that it's very sunny outside, so thanks very much for being with us this afternoon. We have the chance to have on stage 5 different speakers. The goal was to have 3 speakers from the industry, and beside that, we also have 2 pricing experts, where, as you have seen on LinkedIn, the goal is to discuss dynamic pricing within the leisure space. That's a topic which is taking more and more importance, and we do think it's an even more important topic now that COVID has passed. I'm not gonna talk too much in introduction, but rather let our speaker present themselves, and we're gonna start with Torsten from Fraport.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Alexandre and Lisa, for organizing this roundtable. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really excited to discuss with you. My name is Torsten. I'm based in Frankfurt. I'm responsible for the ticketing department at Fraport Skyliners, which is a basketball Division 1 team. So I'm from sports industry. We phase up to dynamic pricing already, but we try to do it in a more sophisticated way in the future. Currently, we have an arena with a capacity of 5,000 people and an average of 4,750 visitors per game prior to COVID. So a occupancy rate of 95%. So if you take an average of 20 games per year, it's almost 100,000. So let's say 95,000 visitors per year. We plan to build a new arena, which hopefully opens in 2025, which has between 13,000 and 40,000 seats. So we have huge challenges regarding this. Yeah, like I said, we're already doing a little bit of dynamic pricing. I would describe it as semi-dynamic pricing. So we do price discrimination depending on the opponent we play. Therefore, we have 3 different price lists. Yeah, I'm looking forward to discuss with the other people.
Cool. Thanks a lot for this very nice introduction. Thanks for being there this afternoon. And Davy, the floor is yours to present a little bit about yourself, the region that you are representing today, and yeah, what dynamic pricing mean to you and potentially to destination like Lausanne Tourism.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much also for your invitation, for hosting me as well during this talk. So I am Davy. I'm head of sales and promotion at the Lausanne Tourism office. So I am representing actually a destination during this roundtable here today. As you had in the introduction as well with your invitation, so dynamic pricing, it's already known in quite a lot of different segments in the tourism industry with airlines, hotels, but more and more also we're looking into it with the destinations together with our partners. And as a leisure destination, especially the importance of dynamic pricing can be as well to increase or having not only a low season and a high season, but to really extend this over the year in a way. And so this is somewhere where dynamic pricing really can play a role in this, especially for the destinations or regions which were facing before COVID with over-tourism, so the famous word of over-tourism. But also for the after COVID, this is something really a solution that can help many destinations actually.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for this introduction. I guess we're gonna definitely talk about the impact on COVID on dynamic pricing and if it's more a solution right now that COVID has passed. But before that, let me pass on to Damien, which is our 3rd speaker from the industry. And Damien, happy that you can say a few words about you.
Hello everyone, I'm Damien Fulbert from Swiss Vapeur Parc. We are a park open for 30 years in Valais, Switzerland, welcoming 150,000 people a year. And we are doing dynamic pricing since March now. For us, the main issue is to plan how many people will come in a park. If it's 200 or 1,000 people, change everything about restaurants and staff and number of attractions we offer to our customers. And of course, it helps us to control the market and not to give the market like hotel industry did to Booking.com, and we keep all the business for ourselves. So that's the main point of us using dynamic pricing for now. And I'm happy to discuss about it with other countries and other industries.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Damien, for this introduction. So now, after like the three speakers from the industry, I'm gonna pass on to the pricing expert, like industry expertise and overview of different businesses. And let's start with Jose.
Yeah, thanks, Alexander. First of all, it's a real honor to join this webinar with you all. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Ignacio Sánchez Butragueño. I'm based in Madrid. I've been focused on revenue management and pricing for almost 20 years. Just a brief introduction of my experience. I've been working in the travel industry since 2001. And also I had were revenue management director for Meliá Hotels International for Europe and Middle East. I was working as vice president of revenue strategy for NH Hotel Group. I shifted to the leisure industry for 3 years as revenue director for Parques Reunidos Group, which is a leisure park operator with 60 parks around the world. And since the last 3 years, I've shifted to the consulting side. First 2 years working for Deloitte as senior advisor for commercial strategy for the travel and leisure industries. And since last year, I started a new challenge, fantastic challenge in a consulting firm based in Madrid, Brain Trust Consulting Services, as director for the tourism and leisure industries. So happy to share with all of you my vision, cross sectorial with all of you.
Cool. So thanks a lot, Jose. I definitely think that like this afternoon, like since we have the chance to have a lot of people from different industries, like sharing cross industries expertise, advice, pro cons will definitely like really valuable for the audience. So like before we move on to the next session, our last speaker is Jan. And Jan, I'll let you present yourself in a couple of words.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, and it's a pleasure to be here on what I think is a super interesting topic. So I'm Ian Tidswell. I'm based in Basel in Switzerland. I'm a general pricing consultant mostly on the B2B space. So I'm not focused on tourism or travel so much. I started give you a little bit of background and then why I think I'm here. I started my background in the business world at McKinsey as a consultant. And then for the last 16 years or so, I've been doing various pricing roles at B2B companies, helping them figure out their pricing strategy. And part of this in the last few years has been much more around dynamic pricing. And I think dynamic pricing is super interesting because it allows companies to meet whatever their goals are. And those goals don't just need to be profit. I think Davy was already talking about spreading out the visitors over the year. So dynamic pricing can play a role not just in increasing profits. And what I enjoy particularly is trying to find the connections across different industries and where we can learn from different industries. We've got to be careful what you learn because you can learn the wrong message as well as the right message. But if you learn the right thing, there's definitely things that translate across. So pleasure to be here.
Would you say like B2B like is like more in advance than B2C, or is it like the opposite way?
I think it's most dynamic. The leader in dynamic pricing is mostly in B2C on online sales, online platforms like the Amazons of the world. But also, of course, in the travel industry, I mean, the airlines were maybe the first people to start with this, right? So I think maybe airlines first, then online. Now it's, hotels are kind of all the way over there, and yeah. And in the B2B space, it's a bit patchy. Depends.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, Jan. So just about a couple of words of myself. So I'm Alex and CEO and co-founder of Smiths. We are data-driven ticketing and dynamic pricing software. So the goal really this afternoon is like to start a debate about dynamic pricing, because you have like people that are in favor of, people that are not in favor of, and that let's make sure that like we really like start cracking the topic this afternoon and give like a couple of ideas to people. So thanks a lot to all of the speaker, all of the audience this afternoon. Thanks as well for Smith's marketing team for organizing the webinar. And now that like the presentation have been done, I think we can like move on to the topic itself. And the first question is gonna go like for the industry guys. So as you say, Torsten, you are already using some kind of dynamic pricing. Can you maybe like give her a little bit more topic about it? Sorry, a little bit more details about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I already said, we do kind of semi-dynamic pricing. So it's not automated. So we have 3 different price lists, or we used to have 3 different price lists. One for the top tier teams when we play against Bayern Munich, and the second and third tier. But what we learned is that our fans don't really care about the opponent, but more about the date and the time we play. Because it's not like in soccer where you have huge brands, and when Borussia Dortmund or Bayern Munich comes, everyone knows this team and everyone wants to see this team. It's more about when is it a good fit to go with your family to the games. So we try to think to shift from price discrimination via the opponent to price discrimination via the date and the time. And we developed during COVID a forecasting tool for revenue. And based on this, we can say, okay, we play in 3 months against Berlin, and depending on different kind of factors like how good is the opponent, what's our winning streak, is it a holiday, is it at night, is it in the afternoon? So we can forecast the revenue, and based on this, we see, okay, it's 30 days to the game, and at this point, based on historical data, we know we should have generated 20% of the end revenue for this game. And if we see, okay, the revenue is below this benchmark, we can do anti-cyclic dynamic pricing, which means we lower the prices, that more people buy tickets, that we reach our benchmark, or vice versa. When we see, oh, we are overperforming, then we can rise the prices. So we do it in the other cycle, and then we try to maximize the revenue for these games.
Okay, that's very interesting. Like that leads me like to another question. Like, do you have like a special team which is like taking care of like revenue management, or is it like the global like ticketing team which is thinking about the strategy?
In our team, in our case, it's myself who's doing this, because we are a pretty small company. With in our office there are like 20-25 people. If you compare it to bigger teams, especially in the US sports, where they do a lot of dynamic pricing, they have analysts who do this all day long. But for us, since we are pretty small, one person has to do different kind of topics, and that's why I'm doing it parallel to other things. So we are not that sophisticated right now that we want to be in the future, or that other teams perhaps already are.
Okay, good. That's give, I think, a pretty good overview of how do you manage prices. But I'll be like very interested like to know like Damien's position about dynamic pricing, and like to explain a little bit where you come from in terms of pricing strategies. So probably like what you were doing 5 years ago, what you were doing 1 year ago, what you are doing now, who is doing it, and yeah, a little bit the process of like setting up prices at the park.
Yeah, 5 years ago, people just came and buy tickets at the park, because we're a family park. We used to be like a small park with volunteer. So people didn't expect to buy ticket online, and they had no point to buy ticket online because we had only one cashier. And step by step, we began with the ticketing system. It worked well because of COVID situation, so we can track people, and we can limit as well the number of people in the park. So we can welcome like 1,000 people. So when you used to welcome 2,000 people, and from one day to another you have only 1,000 people to enter in your park, you clearly have to make big choices. And the main issue is to plan before, because I don't know if I need 20 people to work at the park, or 40 or 50. And the more we plan, the more we can welcome people in the best way ever. So we decided to do a dynamic pricing, and the earlier people buy their tickets, of course, the earlier they have cheap tickets. And I guess for customer, if they are used to it, when they see the price is already high, I would say, some of them understand directly that it will be a packed day, and so people know that when they buy cheaper, they will have a calm day, and so a relaxing day in the park. And the more people will do dynamic pricing, and the more companies will do dynamic pricing, and the more people will get used to it. And it's awesome for us during the week times, and we have more and more people in the week time, I think, because of home office as well. So people are more coming in the week time, and maybe a bit less people in the weekend times, which is great for us because we always have a good service.
So if I sum up, like for you, Torsten, and for you, Damien, like planning of revenue is definitely like key before like doing any kind of dynamic pricing. It's really like the basis of it.
And for us, that's the best to plan the best way, and also to give opportunity to people with less revenue, maybe to get a cheaper price if they buy before. Of course, to buy before in an outdoor park, you have the risk of the rain or too hot maybe. But for us, that's pretty awesome to plan everything clearly. And since then, we are not working so much with like net players like Groupon or whatever. We control it. We control the market. And clearly, people can have very good price to enter, and we never go that much high finally. So I think people are pretty happy with this system.
Yeah, what you say, I think like you're saying like something pretty interesting about like this big discount platform like Groupon you have in the US or Coca you have in Switzerland. I mean, that's probably which is like something which is not so common into like the events world, but definitely like pretty common into the leisure space. Do you have like a rough idea, like in percentage, like how much of this like platform sell tickets for attraction and leisure in Europe?
Usually they're asking like 50% discounts.
Yeah.
And then they're taking like 20% fees. And some of them even don't pay the no-show, which represent like 15% of our tickets. No-show, especially for Christmas time or Black Friday time.
Okay, so for leisure industry people, like, I mean, even if you lower your price by 7 or 8%, you're like kind of still like more profitable than like selling through this like big discounted platform, right?
Yeah, then NetPlayer, which is good in NetPlayer, is that you're talking to another community. So it's a way to advertise as well your business. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. Sometimes it's good to do it. Black Friday, Christmas time, before opening time, it's a free advertisement, I would say. But clearly during the year, you should keep your business and control it.
Okay, quite interesting. Thanks a lot for it. I think like you say like Davy in introduction that like as a destination you're definitely looking at dynamic pricing very closely, but that you have like not embraced it yet. Would it be possible like to give us like a little more color about like what you might think as a plan, like in terms of dynamic pricing, and like or as like a city like you position yourself towards it?
Actually, for us, we do not really own something. We do everything together with partners. So we do not sell something from us. We sell services from partners. And it's really, our aim is to bring visitors towards our destination all year round, not only during July and August or during summer holidays. We know, especially, I was talking about COVID before, we know that the world is going to change, especially the business world is going to change after COVID. And today we don't have a clue how it's going to change. As a destination like Lausanne, which was before like 70% business travel, 30% leisure travel, we know we will be missing from this business travel. So we'll have to increase our leisure guests. So we have to find ways how to do it. And that 30% leisure guests, before they were already concentrated on the leisure holidays. So we have to bring leisure people towards our destination during business time. So when people are also not on holiday, that is why we have to think together with our partners, actually like, okay, how can we bring people here? Because normally during business periods, rates are pretty high, especially when we talk about hotel. rates. So this is all going to stabilize a bit as well. We've seen during the COVID, the entire period of COVID, hotel rates have dropped massively. It's not going to come to a level 2019 level in the next couple of years. So this is a way for us now also to play on this together with the partners, because also COVID has learned us that partners are more open also to think together to new ways how to bring people also. We have seen now July, August, before COVID, it was a bit our low season. Now it's our high season. Last year and this year, it's really clearly high season. So we want to keep it like this also for after COVID, but also having then more people coming also during the other months, December, January, which are very low business months, leisure or business itself. So that is what we have to think actually. So it's for us, it's more collaboration together with partners. And we already do have some of our partners who are going into the dynamic pricing as well within our destination. And for us, we also a communication channel for them and a sales channel. More and more we become a sales channel. And that is something which is very important as message all of us together towards the visitors, the potential visitors.
Yeah, definitely. You have the marketing power, like to communicate prices of your partner. But I mean, like, since like you are talking to a lot of different people, like on your side, like what's like so far the feedback or like the feel and taste that you get from your partner?
But thanks to COVID, I have to say, partners are very open to think together, and we're all looking into the same direction as, okay, how do we get back to healthy business for all of the partners? So the COVID really was helpful for that. Before it was more, I'm not going to say difficult, but it was more challenging for us to get all the partners on the same boat, because some partners, they were like, I'm having enough business, I'm full anyway, so I don't need extra business anyway. Now the situation is completely different. So this is a new opportunity for us, really to go ahead all together in a way as a destination. And the challenge that we are facing, especially in Switzerland, is the first thing that people think about Switzerland, it's expensive. Some periods it's expensive and some periods it's not expensive at all. And that is something that we have to play with. Okay.
So definitely, I think like that's, let's say, the positive impact of COVID is like put everybody in the same boat, at least, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, like now I'm gonna like turn like toward our pricing experts, Jan and Jose. So yeah, we are hearing like people having like different like idea about like dynamic pricing. We have heard about Torsten using forecast and possibly like different price levels. From like a theoretical perspective, maybe Jose, can you give us like a little bit like color about like the different kind of pricing that you have seen through like the different, let's say, parks and other partners you have talked to, like really like from A to Z, like the most vanilla one to the most, let's say, advanced one?
Yeah, well, of course, there are differences between across the different industries. Of course, airlines and hotels are quite advanced, and if we concentrate our vision in the leisure industries, I think it depends a little bit on how big the event is, and what's the geography we are looking at. And as you said before, sports industry in the States are little by little more familiar with dynamic pricing and revenue management in general. Small businesses are lasting a little bit more time to embrace the dynamic pricing strategy, in my opinion. I think it's important to understand that in my opinion, it's not only about dynamic pricing. I would say that smart pricing in general should be the main focus, and not only conceiving dynamic pricing as a goal, but as a mean to achieve revenue maximization and profit maximization, as Ian said before. It's a lever to get this objective as part of the revenue maximization cycle. I think that, of course, there are differences. I see a very big difference between, as I said, big events and small events. In my opinion, big events are starting to see the potential of dynamic pricing much more because of the impact of the secondary market, which is showing clearly the trend of demand-based pricing. And I think that this trend in big events where the secondary market is impacting so much because it's taking part of the profit that the primary market should take by themselves. I think that this is like a teaching note, in my opinion, for not only for the big events, but also for the small businesses to adopt revenue management and smart pricing and dynamic pricing in general. I always say that we are playing in industries where limited capacity is part of the game in most of our cases, and when we have limited capacity, we have to say sometimes yes and sometimes no to certain customers because our capacity is limited, and therefore the theory of first come first served is not worthy for us.
Yeah. And what about technology? Like, do you think like as technology evolve, it will also help smaller businesses to adopt dynamic pricing and to have something which is like closer to the US leagues and like big organizer for big concerts?
Absolutely, Alex. I think that I always say that the right combination for success should be strategy and technology. I think that they both cannot work in silos. A strategy without technology is like a dream, and vice versa. Technology without the strategy could be a waste of money and time. So I think that we need to work in parallel in strategy and technology in order to capture the maximum potential. This is what I really recommend to every single business, no matter if it's big or small, because the opportunity is in every single business.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. But like beside like the technological side, Jan, I mean, when you're advising like big corporates on the B2B, what are, let's say, like what you like look at first before like doing some kind of complex pricing strategy? What like the basis of the audit before like really like being able like to details as pricing strategy that makes sense?
Well, building on what Ignacio said, I mean, the first thing is to know what is success. So what does success look like, right? And so I think in many companies, especially in public companies, it is maximum profit. But in some organizations, it's not that, right? They have some. If you talk about, I live in Basel, we have some world-class museums here, and I think their goals are not purely to make money, right? Some of their goals is to cover their costs, but also to promote art or whatever it is they're trying to do. So the first thing is to be really clear about what are you trying to maximize on, and sometimes that might be money. Sometimes it might be trying to get you want to raise enough money from fee-paying people so you can have outreach programs where you pay. You're not trying to make money, right? And so that sort of brings me to the second piece, which I think we've touched on, but I would highlight is the ability to segment customers into different groups with different willingness to pay and ability to pay. So one of the and what dynamic pricing does is it allows you to when it's done through technology in a system, is it allows you to control a few dials that have a lot of impact and explode into a large number of elements, right? You can multiply things up. So having half a dozen or 10 rules where you're managing how your pricing works with a nice system can allow you to be tweaking your pricing. The system is tweaking your pricing all the way along. I think that offers the ability to do things that you just couldn't do. I own an apartment that I rent out at Airbnb in the French Alps, and there's platforms that allow me to do my pricing based on what's going on in the other Airbnb platforms around me, right? That's me being able to use big scale large technology for my one little lousy apartment in the French Alps, right? That's so I think that's what technology is doing these days, and this is the kind of thing Schmitz does too, right? Is you bring technology that would be beyond the reach of small organizations and make it available to them. So I think that's the really exciting part. But you always have to be clear about what you're trying to do. What does success look like?
Yeah.
I think for Torsten, it's filling all this. It's probably filling all the seats and trying to get as much money as he can, filling all the seats, right? But probably having half the seats full probably wouldn't make sense for Torsten, right? Even if he could maximize the income, that looks bad. So he doesn't want to do that. Yeah.
So if we sum up a little bit like what I've been said for the audience, first of all, like for like a successful like pricing strategies, first to have goals. Then like to have like the technology to apply it, and thirdly like to have like the distribution channel, as like Davy like highlighted it before. That would be like probably like the three pillar to like put a successful pricing strategy out there to maximize like either the revenue, either the benefits for the stadium. I think like Torsten like highlighted like something pretty interesting like during the preparation call about the fact that you were like still willing not to forfeit people to coming into the stadium because of price. And I think that's a subject that we should particularly talk about this afternoon, because that's definitely something that we hear quite often.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's all about customer segmentation, and we have customers in the premium sector or in the hospitality sector who are willing to pay more for a good event because they only come 1 or 2 times a year, so they don't care if they pay 250 euro for a VIP ticket or 275. But in my opinion and in our club's opinion, sports should be something for everyone. So we shouldn't exclude people only because they are not able to pay high prices for tickets. I mean, there are European sports leagues which more or less don't really care about it. But in our opinion, it's pretty important to include everyone. So we have this dynamic pricing in different sectors, especially in the premium sector. But on the other hand, we do things. First thing is we offer at every game, if it's against the low tier team, if it's against Bayern Munich, we offer cheap tickets. Mostly behind the basket, so not the best tickets, but everyone can come. And we do a program called social ticketing, which means that we invite different, let's say, schools, children homes. So people who perhaps sometimes are not able to come because their parents are not able to pay for the tickets, or they don't get the chance. So we want to give these people the chance to attend sports events as well. And this is at the end of the day, it's a CSR topic, and in sports it's really important because it's not all about revenue maximization. It's also, I mean, we were talking about, I think, about ethics. I mean, ethics is a huge word, but and in my opinion, in our opinion, sports should be for everyone and should transport values.
Okay, no, it's clearly understandable. I think that's Jan had a question for you.
Yeah, Torsten. So I think, I mean, this is something where I think we can learn a lot from like the hotel and airline industry. And I was wondering if you do this. So when you have very different prices for tickets, so clearly it's not everyone gets to go to the same game, but their experience is quite different. And so with hotels, with airlines, for example, if you pay enough money, you get to use the lounge, right? You get to board on the plane first, you get to take more bags. So they throw in bundles of extra things into the ticket price, right? Besides the fact that, you know, everyone gets to the destination at the same time. One thing I think in the travel and leisure industry is I don't see much of that kind of bundling and extra expectation, right? I guess if you go to Disney World, you can get into the park, you can use the express lines if you have certain types of tickets. But I think that bundling of additional value features can help people accept the fact that the prices moves up and down. And so, yes, I'm buying my ticket late and it's expensive, but I get these extra little features on the side and therefore it's okay. Do you do things like that as well? Is that part of your pricing?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the most obvious example is hospitality. You pay a lot more, and then you get food and beverage. You have a parking spot directly in front of the arena. But besides that, we have different kind of other bundles, for example, for groups. So we don't want to work, like you said, with lowering prices. We want to add value, because if you recognize, oh, okay, the game next week is way below our expectations, we throw out free tickets. Yeah, then you have a full arena, but then you devalue your own product. So instead of lowering the price, keep the price or raise it if it's against the top tier team, but add value perhaps. And this is what we try to do.
Yeah, I remember in the US in baseball games, when it's like Tuesday early in the season, they have free giveaways. That's one of the things, right? So everyone gets a T-shirt, or everyone gets some. Yeah. Everyone gets a baseball bat, and then they throw them on the pitch and hurt each other. But anyway, that's all. That's a different story.
And we were talking about ethics before, and the fact that like people might pay a different price. Damien, is that like something that you have already like had the feeling of at the park, that like person A was not paying the same as person B? Was it a problem? Was it another problem? Or what's your feedback about it?
The price difference in our park is only 4 francs, 5 people difference. So it's not a big deal, like when you're in a plane and you pay like $200 more. So we don't have this problem, but that's true. It gives an image to a business park and a money maker park. And sometimes in small park, like in our area, we don't want people to see us like that. People want to have fun, but they don't want like to throw money at our park. And that was the main issue when I began with dynamic pricing. I had to convince my staff first that yes, we want to make maybe more money, that's true, but to give more comfortable place for people to come, and then to invest more in the park. And the first move was to convince, I think, the old people in my team, and people who are used to a normal price, adults 17, kids 14, and that's all. And finally, we noticed that people are really okay with it. They're okay with price, with discount, with full price on the main day. They understand, and then they get used to it, and we can play with it. And that finally was a good move. And about ethic, that's true. When we have like people from Europe, we would love to say, okay, let's lower down the price for people to enjoy more the park, and that's where the limit is, because we just can't do it. We just can't raise up the price when the Swiss German are here, and lower down the price when the Belgian people are here. That's the limit of the ethic in our business.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think actually it brings me like to a quite important like question, and maybe like Jose, you can like help me on this. Like when you were like advising park, what was like the communications aspect of smart pricing something that was discussed? Was it important? And or like did you like get along smart pricing and communication?
Yeah, I think communication is key when setting a smart pricing strategy and revenue optimization strategy in general. However, I like to remark that it's important to differentiate what's the individual objective of different departments, marketing, sales, and pricing, because of course, all together have one simple objective, which is maximizing revenue, maximizing the top line and profit. But each one has little differences on the daily tasks and even in the strategic tasks. And I'm saying this because sometimes we misunderstand the objective of pricing. In general, pricing, the main objective of pricing is not influencing on demand generation. Demand generation is responsibility of marketing, or should be. Demand capturing should be responsibility of sales, and pricing should be responsible for optimization. So of course they all need to work together, not in silos, to be coordinated. Every single one has something to say in the different aspects, but I like to remark, because I've seen this many times in my life. I mean, many CEOs or general managers saying, "Hey, pricing guys, what are you doing to generate traffic?" It is not the purpose of pricing. It is the marketing purpose, or how you are capturing demand. It is not the purpose of pricing. It is the purpose of sales. However, we can ask pricing revenue management teams to optimize demand. This is the difference. So of course, communication is key, but again, it's important. Just answering that question that was made in the chat, I think it's important to highlight that marketing generates demand, sales capture demands, and pricing optimize demand, working together.
Yeah, I do truly agree with that point of view. Davy, since like you are on the sales side and also like quite involved into like the tourist business, I'm sure you have seen like kind of like the polemic with like ski resort moving into dynamic pricing was probably like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Or did you perceive that as a destination?
Well, I would come back also on the topic of communication. You know, communication is very important. Like Jose said, it's already within the teams, and Damien as well. Like that, people understand why you do the dynamic price, because it's not only about lowering prices. Working with added values, also in the hotel industry. I'm coming from the hotel industry before as well, because lowering prices is easy. Increasing the rates again, it's very difficult. And that is what we see with this the period now, because for the moment hotels are trying to increase rates, and customers, they just don't understand why last month it was so cheap and now it's so much more expensive. So it's all about communication in the teams, but also with the clients in a way. For the ski resorts, I mean, yeah. Us not being a ski resort, we more thought like, hey, that's really competition, and why are you doing it? Because people are going to go skiing anyway. So unless if there is no snow, okay, that's another topic. Then you have to propose another service for non-skiers also to increase your number of visitors. It's not maybe only focusing on the skiers, but also focusing on another segment. And I think also in the dynamic pricing business mix, that is something which is really important, because what was said before as well is some clients are ready to pay more than other clients. Some clients can bring more, especially in the B2B scape, can bring more visitors than other B2B partners. So it's all a mix actually.
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, like, as we are like nearing like the end of the webinar, I'm just like reminding the audience that you can like start asking questions on the chat. We already had a couple of them. We're gonna like take them in like 3 to 5 minutes. I just like to have a pretty interesting question. I mean, you know, like Smith is a tech startup. We love everything which is data related. And we wanted to have like a little bit like of the feedback of the audience toward data science. What's for you like a dynamic pricing model which can be like powered like machine? Is it like something very scary? Is that something which is like slowly like coming into the mind of people? And yeah, if anyone has a kind of a feedback or advice about it. Maybe Jan, as you are the most let's say the most aware of like what we do as a algorithm solution. Yeah. What do you think like people currently think about machine learning and data science?
Well, I think so. The trick is to, walk then run. So if you try to run and get very aggressive on your pricing strategy at the beginning, then you've more chance of falling over. There's no question about that. So I think you definitely start slowly and steadily. This way the strategy gets into what's the vision of where you want to get to, and then you build on your way in a series of small steps that works. The market gets used to the idea, right? It used to be we were all used to taxis where it cost the same based on distance, and now all of a sudden Uber comes along, and now we're all fine paying if there's a surge, we sort of understand that if it's New Year's Eve and it's 1 a.m., then the Uber is going to cost us more, right? But at least there'll be an Uber around, but the Uber is going to cost us more. So I think on the ethics side, our customers are on a journey, and we need to give them the story, the communication that helps them go on the journey to learn how these things will develop. The other big benefit that I don't think we've mentioned, but I think is super important, is the more advanced you get, dynamic pricing allows you to do experiments once you've softened up the market, when people understand it a little bit. And those experiments can help you understand what people's willingness to pay is and what the market's willingness to pay. And then you can really start to tune your business in a finer way. I mean, Damien, I guess you know more about how price influences the number of visitors now than you did a year ago. And so your ability to plan the right number of resources in the park is probably better than it was a year ago, because of the fact you've got dynamic pricing, right? It controls it, plus you just understand it better. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's something that we use now quite often in marketing, is A/B testing, and that's probably something which has to be discovered more and more in the industries, to beta test different things and see what is working the best.
Well, Amazon, almost every purchase is a test, right? Now, you don't start there, but having a dynamic platform and an approach in your system allows you to toy with the idea of doing experiments.
And for you, Jose, since you're already quite well on the technological side of the business, what have you heard about data science? Something which is now understood by the industry itself, or it's remained kind of dark black magic that nobody wants to touch?
No, I think that I agree with Ian in his arguments. Answering your question, I think there is no magic formula. We can find different kind of technologies, even in just looking at the hotel industry, for instance. You can find some technologies which are like a black box, and some others that are very open to override the price recommendations and even create your own business rules. I think there is not a magic formula. And my recommendation is not to get, let's say, obsessed with the technology, with machine learning, I would say, in the short term, if you are not prepared for it. And let me explain that. When you see the revenue optimization cycle, I've seen many times companies trying to give 2 steps or even 3 steps before covering the basics. And the basics are qualifying data. If you do not have qualified data, then you are not prepared to any kind of machine learning implementation or whatever. So I think it's important to analyze your current status in terms of data. Analyze if you are setting your right processes to qualify data, if you have defined your KPIs properly, if you have your processes properly defined in the pricing decision making, in the decision making process, and therefore at that point you are ready to say, okay, I can select a black box because I just let the machine learning doing the job for me, or I want to impact somehow on the business rules, on the strategy of the price recommendations that are made automatically. So again, it depends on the company. It depends on the level of data quality, and it depends also on the expertise of the team and the general management to embrace properly what the technology can bring with machine learning.
Yeah, I think as what you stated last is very important. Machine learning is not the solution. Sorry, dynamic price is not the solution per se, but it should come definitely first from management goals and objective.
Yeah.
As we are nearing the end. We have like 10 minutes left, which I think should be like the good opportunity to take the question. So the question that we are seeing here, there is a first question for Davy. Should dynamic pricing be used in more B2B business travel offer than it is currently in B2C?
I think it's in both, because for dynamic pricing, it's very diverse in a way. Doesn't mean because you sell to customer A 100 francs and to customer B at 50 francs, is this dynamic pricing? All depends on the amount and what kind of potential the customer can bring. That's especially in the B2B sphere. Because as I said before, a tour operator can bring you maybe 1,000 visitors a year, and another tour operator can bring you 500 visitors a year at different periods. So that really has to, it's qualification. It is a kind of dynamic pricing, but it's really qualification. On the B2B sphere, also dynamic pricing is more than offer and demand in a way as well. So it's clearly it should be done, for me. It should be done in both segments.
Okay, pretty cool. Thanks for the answer. That like lead me like to a second question from Enora. The term dynamic pricing is like can be misleading because it sounds like very easy and smooth, but is in fact very manual. So like probably like continuing with you with Davy, like when you price an offer like for big tour operator group, I guess it's rather manual, right?
Yeah, you know, it's relationship, especially in the B2B sphere. Again, I have been salesperson since the last 20 years, and it's really relationship in a way. You know, what is the potential? It's again a qualification. What is the potential? What can a customer bring to you? What does a customer bring to your competition? Who is your competition? It's less on the destination side. It's more on the partner side itself. So it's, as I said before, also it's dynamic. It's very diverse. Dynamic because adding added values, it's also can in a way dynamic. As soon as the value changes, it is dynamic. I think you really have to look into it. It's selling the rate through the same channel to the same target group. That is dynamic pricing because you change the rate through that same channel to that same target group. And for me, that is really, it's typical for dynamic pricing. And otherwise, when we talk about B2B, it's contracting. You know, it's you put a contracted rate on a potential. It's a contract rate. It is different, can change from seasons that we really see it. You have high season rates and low season rates. It's not every day the same rate, but it's a contract and there's an engagement to it.
And just to extend a point from the B2B, the broader B2B space is the way it works, Davy, in the types of environments you're talking about in B2B is that oftentimes when there's sufficient knowledge and understanding of what the context is, then it's used to guide the salesperson to what would be an appropriate rate. So we set a price corridor and they will say that you target for this group with this size at this time of year with this type of profile should be this, and you shouldn't go below this. Now, I think this industry is some way away from that, and that's actually quite hard to do. But I could imagine in 5 years' time, that's where we end up, right? So in the B2C place, it's more here's the price, and in the B2B space, it's guiding the people doing the selling in a certain, giving them information that can help them get more out of the sale.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to add just one comment here. I completely agree with Ian and Davy. I would say that even technology can help into the B2B space and could be somehow automatized in the sense that I've seen this in the hospitality industry, setting super dynamic pricing in B2C, but you can implement this guidance that Ian was saying to the sales force using a technology too. You can create some ranges like a cap, and to not let's say exceed certain discount, and to provide this flexibility to the sales force to negotiate. So this kind of price recommendations, not in a fixed price, but in a range, could be provided by a technology too. So in that sense, dynamic pricing, even without setting a concrete price cut, can be set. No, and talking about third parties, there was a question saying, how can you implement dynamic pricing in third parties if this is misleading? I would say Well, it's not misleading. It depends on what kind of model are you contracting, merchant or retail. It's different, because if you control the gross rate, then you can apply dynamic pricing in third parties 100%. It's different if you are contracting net rates, when the distributor is controlling the markup, and then you are somehow misleading the concept of dynamic pricing. It's a different space, merchant versus retail models.
As we are moving forward, I have now a question for Damien or Torsten. And the audience is asking if you also apply dynamic pricing for on-site sales, since I still think it represents an important portion of your business. If yes, why? And same, if no, why as well?
If you want, I can start.
Yeah.
To be honest, on-site sales is not a huge portion of our sales, because we want that our fans buy the tickets in advance, because then we can calculate more. We know how the occupancy rate will be. So we try to give an incentive to buy it earlier, in the way that if you buy on-site, you have to pay more. So I think it's €2 per ticket, which you buy in the box office.
Okay.
So it's way easier for everyone to buy it in advance. Then it's cheaper for the customer, and then we know which sections are sold out. We can react a short time before the game and invite perhaps a school if we want to fill something, or we do another kind of promotion. So on-site sales is about 5% of the revenue.
Okay, good. Thanks for the detail. And on your side, Damien, or are you like managing price on site?
No, it's a bit the same. We do not discount on the park, but it represents like 50% of our customer. But same, our point is to plan the day, so we give no discount for people who come directly, and it's quite a good motivation for people to buy before. So no dynamic pricing there.
Yeah, so using really like the door price, like to set like a upper boundary, like to kind of like penalize people that haven't bought online.
Not penalize, yeah. To give benefit to the one who planned before.
Yeah, it's a question of framing.
I think dynamic pricing on the door is tricky, because if literally I walk up and the price is different than the person in front of me, right? That's just not a conversation you want to have.
Yeah, you're nice. You have a good price.
Yeah. No, but they're also clearly motivated buyers. So I mean, in a sense, that's list price, right? List price is there, and everyone, you work your way down from list price. And that's people who, they come on a whim, and I think it's fine. I mean, even airlines have walk-up fares, right? Which is, they don't, maybe they move nowadays, but they didn't used to move around much, right? Even hotels have a rack rate, which is basically a standard price. And if you just walk up, that's the price they'll give you, unless they're trying to get people in the door. But it's not like that with a attraction, right? If you're going to go to the attraction, you're not shopping around, you're not driving around the attractions, figuring out which one you go to based on the price. You just go.
You just go, yeah.
So. Yeah,
you can make it crazy if it's like birthday. Okay, you
could do something. Yeah, you can do that. I just like there's a couple of questions I'd just like to touch on around the types of techniques, because I think there's a bit of confusion about the techniques behind dynamic pricing. They can be super simple rules-based things, or they can be incredibly insightful based on the specific analysis that was done and the returns and what the weather was, and you can throw them into a fancy complicated formula and spit out some numbers. This is something you learn along the way, right? I mean, if I was operating an attraction and I wanted to start, I think I would start varying the price between weekends and weekdays, or having mornings sometime in the week be a bit cheaper, or having discounts that expire as you get closer. Just simple things like this. And then once you start getting used to what happens, then that's giving you information that can give you more sophisticated pricing. So don't be afraid of the AI, ML, pick your 2-letter acronym for stuff you don't understand. That's not what dynamic pricing is about. It's about varying the price depending on when people buy, where people buy, and who they are, and then doing it in a way that makes sense.
probably, I mean, the people from the event business have already that kind of in their DNA as like a natural, let's say, ancestor of dynamic pricing is early bird pricing, normal pricing, late call pricing.
Exactly.
That like the industry has now like seen probably like for the last 10 years. So we do think at Smiths that in the end, like people are using more dynamic pricing that they believe they are doing.
Yes.
Yep.
That's
and it's clearly growing. There's no question it's growing, right? And I think for many companies, for many organizations now, I think the trick is to be learning. So dip your toe in water, learn along the way, and then let's see how quickly it evolves. It will evolve. How quickly it evolves, we don't know the answer to that, but it is evolving.
There is definitely evolving. I mean, as we are like kind of like in the forefront of technology, we are seeing now like crazy projects. I'm probably like talking now about something else than leisure itself, but latest project we have seen about dynamic pricing is about the everything which is retail, where like the price tag are now electronic, and actually the price of item in the shop are changing during the day depending of like refillment of stocks. So to tell you like how far now it is going. So we do see like digitalization like has brought the topic forefront, and some stuff that were not possible before when they were not digital are not now allowed like to be fully dynamic. And we are seeing that like across all in the industry at the moment. Probably like a last question, like before we wrap up the call. There is one question from the audience about. Let me just read it. One was to what? Oh, sorry. No. This one was actually already answered. I think there is a couple more, but that we're gonna answer after the call. The call has been recorded anyway, and we will provide the answer to the Q&A. So if there is like nothing more, let's probably wrap up like by going to all of the speakers with a last sentence or last idea that you would like the audience to remember. And we can start as we introduced the call with Torsten.
Yeah, like we already said, I think regarding dynamic pricing, it's all about preparation, so having good data and experience to read the data you have, and you read the results you get from these BI tools. So I think you can't do dynamic pricing without your own experience. When I visited a couple of NBA teams, they have the best dynamic pricing tools, but at the end of the day, before they change the prices, they check it and they do it by themselves. And I think this is really important. So you can't only rely on the technique. It's all about having proper data, but also having the experience to do it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Torsten, for this last insight and for the attendance to the call. David, do you have like a last idea that you would like to communicate to the audience?
Yeah, as a destination, I would say like work together with your destination, with the tourism office or the official representatives, because they are a demand generator. I would say like work together with them. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Davy, as well for the participation today. Damien, if you had a last idea, last word for the audience.
Yeah, dynamic pricing, you can try stuff step by step and see what works and see what doesn't work, and that's pretty free to try. So it's the old time where you raise up the price and you saw it was a mistake, but it was written everywhere, is over. So it's a great benefit for us to use this system now, because we can be wrong for a day and very good for another day. So yeah, I'm pretty confident for the future with this system.
Thanks a lot, Damien, as well for your participation today. It was a great pleasure to have you. José, if you had a last word.
Yeah, well, I would like to highlight some concepts, some words. I think that instead of dynamic pricing, I would like to talk about smart pricing as part of the not only part, but the cornerstone of revenue and profit maximization for the leisure industry. There is not like a magic formula, but I think that there are some concepts that we need to work hard in order to maximize revenues through the pricing, data qualification, proper segmentation, hyper segmentation, accurate forecasting, capacity management, and benchmarking, which is critical too, in order to maximize through pricing, smart pricing techniques.
Cool. Thanks a lot for this insight, and very glad that you joined the call. And as the last speaker was Jan.
Yeah, I just say, I think, keep it simple. Two things. One is figure out what success looks like for your organization. Where are you trying to go? What are the metrics? It's not those are difficult conversations. Don't underestimate them, especially if you have a mixed goal. But what are you trying to achieve? And then start to investigate how you can use smart pricing, to use Jose Ignacio's term, smart pricing to help you meet your goals better, which means dipping your toe in the water and trying some of these things. You can try small experiments and then they can grow over time. You can manage the risk very easily. I know it can feel, I think the technology and the words sometimes feel more scary than they are, right, at the end of the day. You can have the world's fanciest algorithm, but you can also put a cap that it's not going to raise or lower your price more than 10%, and then it won't do that. So don't be afraid of this stuff. Learn from the experts, but start to go down the path. Start to explore it.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jan, for this final word. Again, thank you very much for everyone in the audience. I hope that you liked the webinar. As I said, so we will also send the recording to all of the speakers, all of the audience. So do not hesitate to use it, reuse it. That was a great pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. Thank you very much again, and speak to you very soon. Goodbye.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.